The chair recognizes the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Poe, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, there is a war going on in Syria. Some call it a civil war. It may be a civil war, may have started out as a civil war, but it is escalating. The government of Syria, ruled by the dictator Assad, is a bad guy, no question about it. Several rebel groups, we're still not sure who all these people are trying to remove him from power. World powers seem to be taking sides in this battle. You have the Syrian government supported by Iran and Russia. They also have this little terrorist group called Hezbollah supporting the regime. But on the other side, you've got the rebels, numerous groups, including Al-Qaeda, a terrorist group. You've got Saudi Arabia, Qatar. You've got the Muslim Brotherhood from Egypt supporting the rebels. Turkey is concerned. And then even Great Britain has weighed in on this, a form of colonial power in the region. And so more and more groups, nations are lining up in this war in Syria that's been going on for 2 years. 100,000 people have been killed by both sides. Refugees are leaving the country and going to other countries. I recently was in Turkey on the border with Turkey and Syria, and I saw a refugee camp that had 150,000 Syrians that had escaped the war in Syria. And finally now, the United States, after 2 years, we've decided we're going to take sides. The president has said we're going to give arms to the Syrian rebels, and that they're going to be vetted so we make sure that we're not giving those to other terrorist groups. I don't know if we're going to do a universal background check on the rebels or what, but small arms for the rebels. And here's what the president said. We're not taking sides in this religious war between Shia and Sunni. Really what we are trying to do is take sides against extremists of all sorts. Well, it seems to me what we are really doing is taking both sides, and we're arming extremists at least in one side. And I ask the question, what is the national security interest of the United States to be involved in somebody else's war? There isn't one. We don't have a national security interest to be involved in this war. You know, the United States seems to have a habit of getting involved in other people's business. And once again, we have made the problem in Syria our problem by being involved and supporting the rebel groups. What is the goal of the United States involvement? This war is not going to be easily won by the rebels. Are we going to then add more military power to the rebels? But what's the end game? What is the goal here? To put another rebel group in power in another country? You know, we've kind of forgotten what we did in Libya. There's Omar Gaddafi, the bad guy of Libya, no question about it, horrible person. So what does the United States do? We support the rebels who overthrow the Libyan president, Libyan dictator. And we send small arms. And you know, Mr. Speaker, those small arms are still in North Africa, and they've spread all over North Africa. We don't know what has happened to those weapons that the United States gave to those rebels. Only time will tell. But yet, this is not our war, but we seem to be very interested in supporting this, as the president correctly said, a religious war. You got the Shiites and you've got the Sunnis. They've been at each other since the year 630, and they haven't resolved their conflicts, and yet here a century and a half later, another conflict is involved. It's a religious war between two groups. In the Middle East, it is escalating. The United States' national interest is not at stake. What the United States should do and work for is a political resolution to this problem, not a military solution to this problem, and do what we can to resolve it politically and help really both sides resolve it. But this is not our war, Mr. Speaker. We have no national security interest. There's no American goal. We don't know the goal. We don't know the end result. And we don't even know who we are arming as those rebels, who made up of criminals, patriots, Al-Qaeda. We ought to not be involved in this war that has no national security interest for the United States. And that's just the way it is. I yield back.
has been a Sunfish production.